Hey everybody, this video is about the Townshend Acts and their consequences. After watching this video, you should be able to discuss the Townshend Acts and describe some of their consequences. So, the Townshend Acts were named after the head of the British Treasury, Charles Townshend, and Townshend convinced Parliament in 1767 to tax the colonists on a number of common items like paper, glass, paint, and tea. Townshend then suggested to Parliament that the money that the British made on those taxes could be used to pay the salaries of colonial officials in the colonies. Now, this was important. It was important because before, the colonists could withhold the paychecks of officials in order to put extra pressure on the officials to get their way. With the Townshend Acts, that strategy wouldn't work anymore. The Townshend Acts also set up new government offices to enforce British policy and even shut down the New York legislature. Now, Americans didn't care too much for the new taxes. I mean, they recently had the hated Stamp Act repealed. Here come another bunch of new taxes and laws. The Massachusetts legislature condemned the Townshend Acts and tried to get other colonies to do the same. Sam Adams sent a letter called the Massachusetts Circular Letter that asked all colonial assemblies to protest the laws. The British, get this, told everyone not to discuss the Massachusetts Circular Letter. They actually made it illegal to discuss it, which of course made everybody want to talk about it. But assemblies that discussed the letter were dissolved by their governors, which of course only made the bad relationship between the British and colonists even worse. In addition, a number of Boston merchants started to boycott British goods. One of the main consequences of the Townshend Acts was the Boston Massacre. Since Boston was the spot of some of the fiercest resistance to British colonial policy, the British began to send more troops to try to keep order in the city. So in 1768, 4,000 troops arrived in Boston. The Bostonians hated the troops in their city. One of the reasons was that citizens were so upset was because of the Quartering Act, 1765. That law made Bostonians responsible for feeding troops and giving those soldiers a place to live, adding even more fuel to that fire. British soldiers wanted additional jobs. They wanted to make a little extra money. And so when they were out looking for jobs, they were in direct competition with the colonists. On March 5th, 1770, at the Boston Commons House, a number of Bostonians began yelling at some British soldiers and throwing things like sticks and stones. Eventually, a soldier fired into the crowd. 5 people died. Patriots began calling this incident the Boston Massacre, and an engraving by Paul Revere portrayed this gory image of British soldiers murdering innocent colonists. This had a result of spreading anti-British sentiment throughout the colonies. So we can see here the impact of propaganda on the American political system. On the same day as the Boston Massacre, Parliament actually revealed the Townshend Acts. While the repeal of the Townshend Acts for a moment cooled some of the tensions between the British and American colonists, distrust certainly remained. Oh, and I should say, one of the Townshend Acts that wasn't repealed was a tax on tea. More on that later. But first, a joke. Why did one kid go to the other side of the park? No, let me say that again. Why did a kid cross the park? That's better. Yeah. Why did a kid cross the park? to get to the other slide. Thanks for watching.